pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Today is February 10th, 2020. Can I have a roll call, please?
Missouri. Here. Basil.
Here.
Whaling.
Here.
Caperos.
Here.
Meyer. Here. Kraus.
Here.
We have minutes from January 10th, 27th. Were there any changes or corrections? If not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Missouri. Yes. Basil.
Abstain?
Whaling.
Yes.
Caperos.
Yes.
Meyer. Yes. Kraus.
Yes.
Is there anyone from the audience wish to address the board? If not, we have the clerk's report.
The total tax income received in January was $169,027.76, and $1,063 of that was a Comcast franchise fee payment. It was an amount that was found during the, as of our audit, of addresses I think that were missed within where our franchise fees were being collected. I also wanted to remind everybody that the dog tag deadline is approaching, getting more than a month away. Dog tags must be purchased by March 13th to avoid the $5 late fee and police fines. So don't forget to do that on time. You can do that online also. That's all.
Manager's report. I'm going to back up a minute under recognition of audience. Chief.
I guess I'd like to introduce Brian Fravel. He's one of our new officers. When I say new, he's been with us for a long time. He started his career as a police officer part-time in Beecher approximately, 9 years ago?
2009.
And then he went to Piatone, he was offered a full-time job. He had the opportunity to go full-time with us, and he took that position. So we're glad to have Brian. He's a great asset. He's got years of experience, and I see good things coming from him in the near future. Thank you.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to meet you, that's all. The Village Commission, beautification,
Nothing to report.
Fourth of July Commission.
We have a meeting coming up on the 20th, I believe.
Youth Commission, trustee Missouri.
Thank you. We're getting ready for the daddy-daughter dance. Registration forms are up and out there. Next meeting is next Wednesday, the 19th, here at the Village Hall at 7:30. Come see what we're about. That's all I have.
Historic Preservation.
All of the plaques that have been handed out to date, we're going to do once the spring comes, where weather's nice and things are turning green. We're gonna take photos, so we can do a photo of current photo, and then we can put it right next to the old photo, you know, when the house, or when 100 years ago when that photo was taken. We also talked about the Myrick's Meat Market building, which is the Poopmeyer building down there on the corner. And our next meeting will be pushed 1 week back to the 26th of February at 6 o'clock at the depot. And that's my report.
Under my report, we have 3 new appointments for the Beecher Youth Commission. Michelle Panazzo, Kim Wojciechowski, and Megan Pida. Someone like to make that motion?
So move.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? Any questions on a motion? Roll call.
Kraus.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Caperos.
Yes.
Whaling.
Yes.
Basil.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
At the last meeting, you authorized the attorney to adopt an ordinance creating 2 new Class A liquor licenses, which is now before you, and the pleasure of the board. Any discussion?
I actually just have one quick question, and it's not about the first license, it would be about Lacey's, and I have no issue with, their license at all. Just kind of a question, when a place is supposed to be serving food, does anybody ever check on that? I mean, could somebody come in and just stop serving food at some point? And I'm not saying they're not, it came up at the last meeting, it was a question in my head.
Usually what I would do is if I get the complaint that they're not serving food, I would go in there and have somebody check on it. That has happened before. I have not received any complaints recently.
Okay.
And
No, and I have not either. I just wondered if there was a process set up for that.
In Lacey's particular case, if we do approve this, and I do call them back, there are a couple of stipulations that I would like to make with them, and we'll make sure of that, just to be sure.
Okay. Yeah, I just wondered if there was a process, because it should be fair for everybody, if everybody has to do it, then,
So the population requirement, is there a set amount for the amount of population? Is that how it, for
It's
liquor
based upon
license?
the, yes.
And we're asking for more than what?
No, you're asking to, let's see how, if I can say this right, help me out here.
To reduce the population criteria, it would allow 2 more licenses to open for consumption on premise.
So in other words, instead of having the number of licenses for 5,000 population, for instance, you're reducing it to 4,000 population. So it's based upon population that we have.
And this ordinance proposes that we allow 1 license for consumption on premise for 862 people in town. That's the breakdown.
So,
And what was the other ordinance?
988 or something. So you drop it by that to allow these 2 to open up. That's how it's set up on the state law. And some towns do it per 50 people. You know, because they might get, like Rosemont, seriously, Rosemont has a population of, what, 2,000? But yet they have, how many restaurants and bars in that town? 30? So that's why, that's how they have to do it, but that's how you do it by criteria.
And then I kind of watched the video from last time, and in the evening, we're gonna be serving just like hors d'oeuvres.
Myself?
Well,
Mr. Howard, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing tapas now, sir.
Okay.
Tapas, are you familiar with?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we'll be doing after hours, because we don't feel that to open up and try to compete with another very well producing restaurant, it's the same market, would not be good business. So tapas is ideal for doing a wine bar, appetizers, tapas style menu, and then going to live entertainment after hours.
I called it food.
Yeah.
It depends on the quality, of everything.
We also brought up some concerns at the last meeting, and I think the liquor commissioner can set the rules as far as, you know, what can take place as far as music and loud and.
There were some questions asked afterwards of me, and bottom line is we still have a long way to go. So what we're just doing is creating the license. That one particular license would be for Mr. Hilliard, provided that he follows through with everything that he has said, including the blueprints, the health department, all our codes, the discussion that we've had, both with Bob and I and with the village board. So he has a long way to go, and so I completely understand that.
Yes, sir.
And we would not give out that license unless, what I've done in the past, the board, in case they don't know it, when I first became mayor, there were 2 licenses that 2 individuals were paying for every year, but they never opened. One of which was a burned out building and he didn't want to lose a license. The other one did present plans, we did like the plans, but he kept on stringing us along, for lack of better terms. So in this particular case, what I would probably indicate that we have a year. And then within a year, if we see no movement or if there's something wrong, then I would come back to you and say, look, the village board may decide to roll it back if we don't see something.
Understood.
But certainly if we see something going on, and, you know, we're still happy with what's going on, sometimes things take longer to get it, I think we all understand that. And I think it's something that we would certainly extend after 1 year.
Absolutely.
I'd have to clarify one point. Do you need the liquor license in your hand to close on the building?
No, we just
Just a
need
commitment on the part of the village that
authorization,
they would
a
do it.
letter from the mayor saying that he's going to issue it to go ahead to do final
As long as
procedure.
all the conditions are satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely. We understand there's gonna be the law, so.
And certainly with what I just informed the board, if anybody has any other ideas or comments, by all means. Anyone? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance reducing the population requirements for Class A liquor license to permit 2 additional licenses for consumption on premise.
1322. There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri? Yes. Basil?
Abstain?
Whalen?
Yes.
Pearls?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Grouse?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So you will need a letter then, because I'll get a letter to you.
Absolutely, please. To your convenience. Thank you. Thank everybody.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And the South Suburban Mayors and Managers meeting with local legislators, I wish I was there, but was just bad, so anybody who did go.
Well, I think, most of the push was for, I think a lot of the money's gonna go towards the I-80 corridor. The airport, they're still pushing that in the governor's office. That, and we're asked about the Ileana, and that is not on the governor's radar at all. That they're thinking that the I-80, they're gonna put the money there. And then they did talk about 394 down the Exchange.
Yeah, some safety improvements that
Safety
were being
improvement.
requested.
And pension reform, that was the big items they talked about. Anything else?
That's mainly what I remember
Yeah.
And
too.
how many legislators were there?
6, I wanna say.
Maybe.
LG Sims, DeLuca.
Cutting,
I didn't really know the other people.
yeah, Robin Kelly,
She was there.
I think that was her, yeah.
No.
Wasn't she?
No.
There were two ladies who were
Yeah,
the
it
two
wasn't
legislators.
Robin. I know Robin.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
anything
so-
else?
No.
Thank you. Finance Administration Committee, trustee Lee.
Treasurer's report, Donna?
The January month-end balance for the village accounts, $2,564,380.01. The month-end total for the commission accounts, $185,686.79. The total of all accounts combined, $2,750,066.80. Month-end in general, $545,462.68. Fiscal year-to-date interest, $44,043.79. The total of the commission non-AP payments, $245,938.51. No bills out of the ordinary. Everything was previously approved. And if there are no questions, that ends my report.
All right, I'd like to make a motion approving the treasurer's report, financial activities in the prior month.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Variance report are, for your preceding month are included. And approval of bills for the prior month. I think there was only one added, and that was a reimbursement for training. So if there's no questions or concerns. I'd like to make a motion to approve the bills for the prior month of $130,971.60.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
All right, budget approval process timeline. Staff draft of the budget will be ready for distribution at the February 24th Village Board meeting. The Public Works Committee has reviewed its portion of the budget, and the Public Safety Committee plans to meet soon to review the police budget. Sometime in March, the entire Village Board should meet in a workshop to review and discuss the proposed budget, and is the annual practice. We have several options this year on how to achieve this. Number one, hold 2 shorter workshops after each board meeting in March and review half of the budget at each meeting. B, hold a special board meeting the 5th Monday of March, March 30th at 6 p.m. and review the entire budget at once. Or pick a Saturday in March, the 14th, 21st, or 28th, and start at 8 a.m. and Greg will make breakfast.
Yeah.
Casey's breakfast.
I mean, it's
So what-
nice
what's-
this year that we have 3 options that you guys can do.
What's the privilege of the board? Privilege?
I would say B or C.
B or C?
I like B.
I think if you do two shorter ones, too much stuff affects other stuff, and it's better just to sit down and hammer it out than
Yeah,
to
the
start and
March.
stop.
March 30th, Monday seems like the best day.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
good
good
with
with
B.
Yeah.
Saturdays are basketball.
Yeah. Okay, so B it is.
Then make a motion
Do I have to make a
authorizing a
motion?
special village board meeting for March 30th.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the finance budget for next year on special meeting on March 30th at 6 PM.
And
Discuss the budget at 6 P M.
Discuss the budget.
Does that go over spring break, Scott, in here?
Yeah, you didn't
I
see.
didn't think about spring break.
I was waiting
No.
for him to keep flipping.
Yeah.
He was looking.
I just wanna make sure everybody has the opportunity to attend the meeting, that's what I wanna make sure.
If I may, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, go ahead,
It's
Scott.
It's later.
So you're okay with the 30th?
Yeah, it's in April.
Okay.
Easter is in April. Yeah, Easter's in April.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good.
So March 30th, 6 P M here,
I guess we'll do pizza.
and Frank's making that.
Thanks, Frank.
Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Whaling.
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Mazer.
Yes.
All right, consider a motion authorizing a public hearing on the proposed budget on Monday, April 27th at 7 PM.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
There
I'd
a
like to
second?
make a motion.
Second.
There's a second, any questions? Roll call.
Mazer,
Yes.
Basil.
Yes.
Whaling.
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
All right, elected officials and employees are required to take a sexual harassment training before December 31st, 2020. Although this law passed last year, the required training session has not yet been approved for use. And we are all waiting for the state's to release the training session. We believe it will be in the form of a webinar where each official logs in and takes the course, and certified is then printed and stored in the state database, similar to the Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act compliance training. Once we know what we need to be done, we will let you know. And that ends my report.
Public buildings and property, parks and recreation, trustee Rob.
Okay, splash pad update. On your table in front of you, you'll find two sets of the splash pad renderings and prices. Option 1 and option 2. Either one of those can be added or changed according to what we would like to add or subtract. We are leaning toward option 2, just for a big fact would be is it's visible. You know, we were talking about from the street. There's arches in it, you can see it, there's going to be coverings and so on. This would be considered to be phase 1, and we can design it to be added to if the demand for the use is there. You know, if nobody's going to be using it, we're not going to go to phase 2. One way we would go to phase 2 would be to actually square off the circle, you know, because the square gives you added square footage on the corners. That's one option to expand it. The floor of the splash pad is made up of a brushed concrete. You can also add color to the concrete if you wish. We talked about the red awnings, you know, the covers, the shades that we have out there. We were talking about going with red because everything else in the park is red. But then we talked, you know, red is going to fade. So we're looking now at more of like a gray type shelter or, you know, a screen over the shaded areas. There are two types of systems. One is the recirculating system, which means that you would need to treat the water because it is being used over and over again, which is similar to a pool. This system that we would put in is a one-time use of the water. So this water would go into a draining system and would either go to the creek or a storm sewer that runs through the property. The cost of the system is a lot less than the recirculating system, and we don't really want to get into the pool business because that's a lot of chemicals and treatment and testing and everything else. The whole system can go off on sequence, you know, so certain things can run at one time. You know, if the fountains go here, you can time it where the fountains go over here, and I think it's one of those things where kids love to anticipate where the water's gonna pop out of, you know, so we can set that up. It's also gonna be on a timer, so it doesn't run all day, you know, so whoever wants to use the system would go up there and push the start button, and it would start the water flows. The anticipated price for this system, you see in front of you right now is what the equipment would cost, but I think the overall construction of it, when you're talking about concrete and drains and everything else, you're probably talking right around $200,000 is what we anticipate for this splash pad. In the near future, we will be talking about how we are going to get this done, which would include a timeline. We would have some options as far as our own financing, grants, possibility of a park district. This would be a perfect first project for a park district, you know, if it would come about. We will see if there's any interest in the park district after the referendum vote next month. Any questions?
Do you have an idea what the recirculating one would cost as opposed to the?
You're talking, we didn't even get a price for that.
Well, the problem is the compliance and maintenance that would be expected of our public works department for a recirculation system. The big problem they have is people allow their dogs, their pets to go into the water. And if you have a recirculating system, you've got to go through a decontamination process, sampling, testing, scrubbing the equipment down every day. If you're using fresh water constantly that's chlorinated, you don't have that problem. And I think we came up with a figure of at most 9,000 gallons a day.
I think it was 22,000 gallons a day
22,
in
but
summertime.
it's not that.
That's if it would be running constantly,
Yeah,
Did they give you like a gallons per hour or something?
not up to this point.
I knew we could handle it, John, it wasn't that big of a load. I mean, we had a leak in Nantucket that was doing more than that.
You know, a lot of these jets that are coming out of the ground, you know, that's the inexpensive way to go. You know, as far as you can in your equipment panel, you can go in there, you can change the pressure, you know, to have these go higher, lower, or whatever. So we have control on how this is all set up, you know, as far as how it works and how it operates.
So, these aren't powder coated, these are what, just cement?
I think the price.
Fixtures?
Yeah. There's an additional cost, I think, to be powder coated.
How does the size of this fit with that pad that's out there now? I mean, how much bigger is it than that pad?
Oh, it's
Quite a bit
quite a bit bigger. This is, I think there's a drawing in here. I think it's 50 feet. It's 50 feet across both ways. The pad would be right in front of where the red rings, you know, the pipes that come up. So the pad, you'd walk right into that area with the pipes, you know, with the water spraying on the sides and on the top.
We have had several meetings with this salesman, and Matt was in the first meeting, and there was another one we had just last week, I think,
Right.
wasn't it? And I'm very impressed with this guy. He is very practical. He's not trying to sell you a bill of goods. He's a council member in Munster. He's on the city council where they have a city parks department. So he gets it. He understands the financial constraints that these projects can have. And I was impressed with the proposal, to be honest with you. I honestly thought this would cost a lot more.
Scott, is this the big difference is this,
versus that.
Right.
That's
Right.
the difference.
And like this is the first drawing, you know, I mean, we could put things in, we can change things around, you know, different things like that, so, the center, the wheel that goes around in the center is, actually can be controlled, there's a handle down there where the kids can spin that, and spin that water around. You also can see, you know, that in the picture, there's a wheelchair there too, because everything is ground level, you roll right up on it, and it goes right there. And of course, you need the shade for the parents or for the kids that want to get out of the sun. I think it's a perfect location down in Fireman's Park.
73.
This, and this, I'm trying to think, how close does this get to the field? Would it be 3? Is it still pretty far away? Will it get
It
the
is,
fence up?
yeah,
Closer to 2, I think, but even then it's far away.
yeah. I have an overall drawing of the park, you know, a big survey that shows where the fields are located. When we originally did the OSLET grant for Fireman's Park, we had to come up and we had to hire a grant writer, we had to hire an architect, a surveyor, and we have all those drawings on hand.
Was there any discussion about a surface other than the concrete?
There was. There's a rubber surface, and that was one thing that was brought up, you know, as far as brushed concrete can sometimes, you know, scuff your knees and injure and so on. The rubber obviously doesn't last as long, so I think it's one of those things where I don't know the lifespan of that rubber, but I would think that it would have to be replaced obviously more than concrete. A lot of the communities, he said, we're going with the brushed concrete, right?
Which
versus the
surprised
rubber.
me, but again, I'm not a specialist.
It surprised me as well.
Did he say why? Is it just the cost or maintenance?
I think it's the cost and the maintenance.
And the slip factor, there's no slipping factor with the concrete versus the
Now
rubber.
with the brushed, I don't think with the
Probably
brushed
should have helped
concrete.
it.
But no, that was a discussion, you know, that was a concern, because, you know,
And we had Matt there to make sure that we can get it to in service to the splash pad and electric conduit, which wouldn't be a problem, because they need 110. We probably put in a bigger line than 2 inch in case we ever expanded it. We had the infrastructure in place for it.
right. Yeah, if we plan on expanding it, we're gonna have to know that up front, because, you know, you have a lot of lines running and so on. I think the way it's laid out, I think if we do plan someday of expanding it, I think we'd be able to tie in pretty easy.
But what we can do is go out there and stake a 50 by 50 off that block so everybody can see what that would look like in the park. We could do that. If there's concerns about going into a ball field, I get that.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're moving forward with it, you know, we'll keep on digesting it. Like I said, we have financing that we have to talk about. So we'll keep bringing this up, but I wanted to show you guys a little bit about what we're looking at, and if you guys have any suggestions, you know, let me know, and we'll kind of go from there. We can also get a price for the rubber, you know, the rubber floor.
I'd like to know the difference, price-wise.
Okay. All right. And then the Park District referendum question, just 5 weeks away. So that's an informatory referendum. Right? Just judging or kind of getting.
And we probably should use our social media platform to let people know that that question is on the table.
Should also consider whether we should have a mailing, like a one-page, two-sided mailing informing everybody what it's all about. I don't think we should just use social media. Of course, while the post office delivers it to the right spot. That's my thought, I think we should have some kind of pamphlet rather than just.
And this is gonna be on the same ballot as the primary election, right? So people don't have to even vote in the primary if they just wanna vote on the park district, correct? You can just go in and vote on the referendum.
Now, you can't advocate a position.
No,
But you
I'm
can-
thinking maybe people need to be sure of that too, if they're not sure of it, that, you know, if they don't like voting in primaries, that they can still vote just on this.
Don't have to claim your party
We need
though.
to be in a meeting of the minds.
To vote on a referendum?
What's that, Chris?
Excuse me. We need to have a meeting of the minds to develop this pamphlet of some sort of what we're gonna do. So,
Okay, Marcy and they will get together and come up with a flyer. That's it.
and the Building and Zoning Committee, trustee Missouri.
Okay, public hearing on the proposed fence amendments is set for Thursday, February 27th at 7 PM at the Township Center. And paper copies of the new 2019 Comprehensive Land Use Plan were provided at the last meeting. We are now formally completed with this project. That's all I have.
Public Safety Committee, trustee Crowe.
Thank you. Consider a new code enforcement program for 2020. Please read the enclosed proposal. The intention is to remove code enforcement from the police department, make it a function of the village administrator's office, once again at the village hall. The current municipal ordinance for code enforcement is also written this way. The program will add $15,246 in new expenses to the general fund, since the original plan in the police department included patrol coverage that cannot be reduced. This will be discussed further in the budget prep workshops forthcoming. The committee wanted this program discussed first to make sure everyone understands the concept of the new program first. Any questions on it right now? I know this is, it's for the budget, but I don't ever get all the information.
Thought that the idea was to present this so that everybody had an idea of what you would be asking for in the budget. So if everybody had a consensus at least about the dollar amount, that we could move ahead with possibly trying to find somebody, because that's gonna be done before the budget's approved.
Yeah, we would really like to have somebody on board, so.
Would it have to be,
Sooner than later.
would it have to be pending the budget though, or higher?
Absolutely, we wouldn't hire
All I'm
anybody.
saying is looking.
Yeah, you can't, if you don't fund the position, we're not gonna hire somebody, but we'd like to start the recruitment process, because it's gonna take a while.
Because there was some concern with the spring, depending upon the weather, that it's gonna break and we don't have anybody, but it's whatever you pleasure.
So, I mean, the public safety committee met, the proposal that's in here, in job description is pretty much what we agreed on. There were some concerns that I had about the call volume, summer versus winter. That's just stuff we'd have to work out in the interview process or hire process. I think that was my biggest, and compliance over tickets is another concern of mine. You know, not just ticketing people, but trying to get them to comply with the ordinance as opposed to just ticketing them.
If you want more time to digest it, that's fine too, but again, I think there was some, hoping to get some direction of whether or not to proceed, if you start thinking and looking how we're gonna advertise and how we're gonna hire somebody, pending the approval of the budget.
Well, it'll depend on, I'm curious as to how you would advertise it.
We could do a couple different things, we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about Monster or whatever, one of the sites like that was.
What are you gonna be looking for out of them? Is this a Monday through Friday, an hour or two a day? Is this 1 day a week? Is this year round? Is this seasonal? Is this 2 days a week, 8 hours a day? What do you?
The hours would vary, the days would vary. I think initially it would be something similar to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So nothing was hanging too many days. The hours were.
We were gonna advertise it a total number of hours per year, and then we'd break it down depending upon seasons and demand, if I remember right.
What rate of pay were you thinking you needed to get somebody qualified?
It was just, that was the salary, was the 15,000, so it was based on, it was the hours.
17? Was it
Yeah, I know, I
17?
saw an hourly in here.
It was the hours and the,
$17 an hour times 750.
There you go.
That's like 16 to 18.
yeah, 17. That's 7.
And if I remember right too, is that if we're not comfortable with going this route today, then bottom line is the police department would just have to continue it until May 1st, until the budget's been approved. It's just a thought.
750 hours per year, capped at 750 hours per year, $16, $18 an hour, depending on experience. There was also some talk just between us, we haven't approached the fire department too, about maybe either one of us piggybacking on the other to try to wrap this into help them and help us. Because they had some issues too, hiring somebody, they lost their last inspector. You know if they have anyone yet already.
They do, I don't know if you started yet.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, the hours and the days, may be flexible. Like I said, in winter, I've said it before, our calls, for code at least, they drop off the map almost. I know, what did you mention, Bob, about, addresses, checking addresses,
There's
there's
like-
addresses.
yeah,
There's some things they could do.
There's 18 things that we listed that this person could be doing. That the police department wouldn't have to do, like delivering past due water bills. This individual could do that, it wouldn't have to necessarily be a police function. We do better on our building permit and contractor license verification. You can go and count amusement devices for our licensing. There's a lot of things that individual could be doing that isn't measuring tall grass.
It looks like about 14, 15 hours a week as we break it out.
Yeah, and it would be seasonal. I mean, if the guy was a snowbird, wanted to go to Florida for a month or two in the winter time, we could probably accommodate that. Because from January 1st to now, I don't think we've had any code enforcement issues other than maybe a building issue. So it's basically seasonal. In the summertime, you get a lot of it.
So I guess what's the board think? Obviously, this is budget dependent, but we would like to start, looking to see if we can find someone that, would fit this.
I'm okay with doing it as long as it, again, budget dependent, as long as we can fund it.
I believe you found a way to fund it in the budget, correct?
Yes, but there was an issue that, if we had to, would the funding come from the police department, because originally the police were doing this program. And the answer to that is the police still have to fill the patrol shift that officer was doing on that day, because that was also the third car on the day shift. So, the answer to that question is not really coming from the police, is that correct? Greg?
Probably not, no.
So it's in addition to, not in lieu of. I just want to make that clear, you know what I'm saying? I can't show you a cut in the police budget equal to this.
So water and sewer will probably end up paying for it.
No, it's in general, John.
It's in general.
With the
Generally, it's
G2.
in general.
In general.
How's your coffee that took you this long?
Okay, it's a discussion for the 5th Monday of March.
The 5th Monday.
Laraway Communications Center update. I'll let everybody read this entire thing, but the bottom line is our fees didn't go up as much as they're supposed to. I believe it was 16.41% they were supposed to go up. And now it's capped at 5, which I think is a lot more reasonable. And I actually was surprised, even the towns that would have benefited from the old system voted to put the cap on for everybody. So it seems, this is the first meeting I've ever been to, I went to the last one with Bob. It seemed very cordial, everybody seemed to be on the same page, what they're looking for to move forward.
There were a lot of new faces in the room that night. Everyone was on their best behavior.
They're
You're one of the new.
Yeah, they're all new to me, so, there were some interesting things too that talked about that we're gonna keep watching. They are changing the way they bill us now for the calls. It's a 3-year average instead of whatever the previous year was, so that will help stabilize it overall. Next year ours will go down next year, because our calls for service went down, I think like what, 2,000 or 3,000 for 19. So next year when it gets recalculated, it should go down again.
What I was impressed with is they elected Dave Wallace to chair the board of directors. He's a ex-police chief from Crete, and he's a village administrator in Monique. That's perfect for us. Mike Einhorn also got a seat on the executive board representing small fire departments. And And he's the guy that's always sticking his nose in where the money is, trying to find out where all the money's going.
Well,
So I think we're gonna get a much clearer
I applaud
picture.
him for doing that, cause, well, I'll just leave that, as I get information on it. I applaud him for bringing that up at the last meeting, cause if there's some money due to the towns that wasn't before. And I'll leave it at that. Thank
So
you.
I did notice all of our calls did go down from 18 to 19. Is that,
Yeah, from 18 to 19.
Yeah, we're using our computers more. If we use our computers to dispatch ourselves, it doesn't count towards the
doesn't count?
cost, right?
okay.
Some calls we can do that, some calls it's in private, we have to call it in. But we're gonna
That was
save a
that
little
other
bit.
column that
Yep.
you call in the MD,
MDT,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
That's something at last budget I know we discussed, as long as it's not an officer safety issue, logging some of those calls ourselves so that call volume does go down. I mean, some calls you can't, you have to use dispatch system, and they should, if it's safety, but
And that helps our rate?
it helps lower our rate, less times we call
Good.
it. That's all I have.
Here, Public Works Committee, trustee Cooper.
Consider an agreement with Baxter and Woolman in the amount of $50,000 for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant permit compliance. This has to do with the presentation that Nicole gave at the last meeting where they were at 62. We had our meeting where we were kind of tentatively just slightly went over the budget. This came up, asked Bob to reach back out to him. We got it reduced to 50, so
I called Derek.
yeah, it makes that pill a little easier to swallow. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to enter an agreement with Baxter and Woolman in the amount of $50,000 for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant permit compliance.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Caprows,
Yes.
Whaley,
Yes.
Basil,
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Consider a resolution to submit an application to the Will County Governmental League Transportation Committee for inclusion of the rehab of Church Road from Dixie to Cardinal Creek Boulevard as an 80-20 federal STP project in the new 5-year plan for fiscal year 2026 from Baxter and Woolman in the amount of $4,000 using MFT funds. This section of Church Road is eligible for federal funding. But as we've learned with Penfield Street, these projects take forever to get moving through the system. Even though we target the summer of 2026, it might not be for a year or two after that. Since these calls for project occur every 5 years, we need to get on the list now to see if the project is rated and then funded. We can later decide how to pursue with the project, but this is the first step. A little history on that, where we talked about it with Penfield. We started that process in,
I have some more unfortunate news on that. I
Yeah.
got it today.
that was what, 13?
2013, we agreed to pay this $4,000 and apply. We rated well, we borrowed $150,000 in 2014 to do the phase 1. We paid that back before we even had phase 1 approved over the 5 years. That's how long this process takes. We still do not have a phase 2 engineering design agreement approved by IDOT yet for Penfield Street. Unfortunately, and I'll get into this new information, I just learned verbally today, and I'm gonna get a written confirmation on Wednesday when I go to a meeting. They have pushed Penfield Street off to 2022 now. The feds have. I am so aggravated, we are not the only project that got pushed back, a lot of projects got pushed back. The feds are hot at the state is not getting this stuff done. You know, and the capital bill with all these road projects, I don't know how that's gonna handle that. They're just overloaded. And it's a bureaucratic nightmare, absolute nightmare.
We're gonna have any hoops to jump through with redoing the engineering or anything like that, with it being?
No, right now we're okay, it's the timing, not the project. The problem is the pay rates change, and every time IDOT finally is ready to sign off, well, we have 2019 pay rates in there, we're gonna start over again. We applied for it in 2019, changed the pay rates, signed an agreement, give it back to us. You know, it's just a nightmare.
Right, so you told me it was Fed money,
It's federal money.
but the state is the one that's holding it up.
That's correct.
So
Because
the
they
question
approve it, they administer the federal money.
So the question I asked is if the state is holding it up, when we go to Springfield, is that something that we should make it a point with to see?
Absolutely, absolutely,
So it's not the Fed problem, it's a state problem.
absolutely.
So the state has the money, they're just not dispersing it to us, is the bottom line. state's holding our money.
Right, the problem is, all these projects are gonna hit at once, so now the feds have to prioritize who gets funded, because the state blows them out in lumps. What they should just do is pragmatic, keep to their schedule, and they don't. You know, it's like when the sewer backs up, and then when you open up the sewer, you know, everything comes, and that's the problem. This project, we could say, get on the 5-year plan for 2026. This might be 2030 before we get Church Road, but if we're not on the list at all, you'll never get any money, you know? And my successor can worry about Church Road, because that's how long it's gonna be before he gets.
But the idea of this is that, because we had something prior to Penfield, this goes back to before I was elected, I mean, Scott, and, the mayor at that point even had something in the works on that, which I believe it was Penfield, and we canceled it because of the financing, interest rates with what was being, and we brought it back up. It was actually.
It was Church Road West.
It was my first meeting that I had to do that. But, the idea is to always have something in the hopper with this plan, right? And anything you can get approved eventually down the line, the idea is that we're not funding it 80% of it. We're not funding it 100%. Typically, all these other projects that we'll do, if we do a road resurfacing project, which hopefully, we can get into some of those in the near future, we'll be talking about that at the budget too. When we do those, it's 100% on our back, right? This is a chance to have something at 80%. I'd suggest that we go ahead for the 4,000, it's MFT money, it's what it's for. Let's get it rolling and, you know, let the chips fall where they may in a few years, see what pans out, but it's always best to have something in the hopper there in that plan process of 5 years, so.
The only thing that Bob and I talked about is I have a concern is the 4,000, I get that. I don't think we wanna make the same, it's not necessarily a mistake, I don't think we wanna put everything in one basket again, which ties our hand if we don't have the money for the other roads.
You're talking about beginning with phase 1 of the engineering of that?
Yeah.
I mean.
So, in other words, $4,000 is great, so on and so forth, but if we have to continue to save money to get this project off the road even in 5 years, without spending any money on any other local roads, I would have a concern like that, just like we did with Penfield. I mean, we did the right thing, we put all our eggs in the basket, we're trying to get it off the ground, but at the same token, we have to save to get other things done, so I just wanna be careful about that.
I'm just curious, what if, like, John keeps getting pushed back, so just hypothetical, Penfield keeps getting pushed back, not saying that we would ever fund it 100%, but if a municipality was waiting for something like that, and they know it's gonna come eventually, and they did it themselves, do they ever like, okay, you did the project, we approved it, you get the money?
Why do you think we're sitting on the Gould Street water main?
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's so aggravating, you know, how do these towns get things done, you know? The only thing I'll tell you, the EPA does a better job administering grants and loans than IDOT does. You know, I've dealt with them for years, and they've been pretty Johnny on the spot, but this is gonna have to be a political thing, we're gonna have to push this to get this done, you know, it's just ridiculous. But, that being said, if Penfield's not gonna be 2022, this isn't gonna be 2026.
Right.
So you're probably looking at 2 mayoral terms down the road where they'll have to decide what they're gonna do with this thing. But if you're not on a list, you never get on a list.
But at some point, probably in the next 5 years, you gotta
Do a phase 1.
Make that decision on the phase 1, just like we did with Penfield, and you bite the bullet. Penfield was a little less than this one will be, but you bite the bullet and you do it, and you do it like we did, and pay it off and get it done. But
And this is costing them money too, because every year you wait on a job, the cost of the job goes up. They cover that. Our 20% goes up too. But the feds are eating their 80% of that job increase. You know, so this $5 million job is gonna be $6 million by the time we start it.
So, you got a resolution number?
2020-2.
I'll go ahead and make a motion approving resolution 2020-2 to submit an application to the Will County Governmental League Transportation Committee for inclusion of the rehab of Church Road from Dixie Highway to Cardinal Creek Boulevard as an 80-20 federal STP project in the new 5-year plan for fiscal year 2026 from Baxter and Women in the amount of $4,000 using MFT funds.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second, any questions? Roll call.
Missouri? Yes. Basil?
Yeah.
Whalen?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes. Consider authorizing payment to Baxter and Women in the amount of $19,995.11 upon receipt of the IEPA loan funds for progress payment for construction management services related to the Beecher wastewater treatment plant. Any questions? If not, I will go ahead and make a motion authorizing payment to Baxter and Women in the amount of $19,995.11 upon receipt of IEPA loan funds as a progress payment for construction management services for the Beecher wastewater treatment plant.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Second, any questions? Roll call.
Kraus?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Whaling?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it. Economic Development Committee, Relations Committee, trustee Meyer.
Continued discussion on open house for home builders. I guess committee should, meet and talk about when we'd like to do it, what a good time in March would be.
I can share with you that the gentleman that came out and did the filming the other day for the census, he's professionally did this for the news media before, and then he left that and he's doing this on his own now. I mentioned to him what you were looking to do. He asked me a few questions and then he made some suggestions thereafter. I didn't get into cost or anything like that, but maybe if you do need, maybe, again, if you want to look at something like that, that's fine.
We have drone access too.
Pardon?
We have drone access too. We need those drone.
If they're around.
Sorry.
We'll set up a meeting where we can kind of talk about what we'd like to do and when. And this,
That's it.
that's it. I'll have some stuff for new business.
Any old business to come before the board?
Yeah, I wanted to go back, being we're talking about dates on the splash pad, we're looking for 2021, for this being built. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's not gonna happen.
You're talking
It's not gonna
dollars.
2024.
Yeah,
Can we get some money for the fence?
yeah, we're starting with 0, so.
Any other old business? Any new business to come before the board?
Yes. Yes.
Can I hear you?
Yeah, so the HGTV, home takeover, show that they had, I was trying to get some video, we talked about drone video, that, I found out kind of in the 11th hour that was not going to happen. So I got online to submit, this was Wednesday night, I got online to submit the photos I had taken, and you couldn't even upload photos on the website. Everything I had, they kept saying it had to be smaller, smaller, smaller. So I finally got everything together to submit Wednesday night, and they will not let you do it without video. So, aborted Thursday, I gotta work, I finally get out 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the snowstorm. I'm gonna make a video, so I go downtown and, Marcy with her iPhone in the snow, hands frozen to the camera, did about 10 takes. Now, that, if you've seen that Liberty Mutual commercial on TV where the guy's up there going, Liberty, Liberty, that was me. So I'm trying to talk while I'm doing this, and I have no script, I don't know what I wanna say. So I think I did 10 different takes, a couple of them I actually swore at the end of them, and I had to stop it.
I told her to submit those.
Yeah,
It's realistic.
I didn't want to submit those. Finally, I took it up video, so I tried to submit it, and their website is down, and it looked like it got hacked. So every time you try to go in, they wouldn't let you in the website, their security certificate was bad. So finally I says, okay, how bad could it be? I'm just gonna click through and take my chances, $2,500 computer, what's the difference? So I clicked through their website, and all it did was reroute you into somebody's photography website. It had just been hacked. So Friday morning, that's your last day you can do this, gotta take my mom to the doctor, morning's gone. So afternoon comes by, I finally get through to the website, and they had a message saying that they were having website difficulties. Stay tuned, you'll be able to submit your entry into this. Kept saying the same message. Well, at the bottom there was a little email address that says, if you have any questions, send an email to HGTV Casting. So I figured, let's email. So I sent them an email and they got back to me within 10 minutes and gave me a Dropbox address to be able to upload the photos and the video. So I went in, there's release forms you had to sign, so I scanned all the release forms in, uploaded them into Dropbox, uploaded all the stuff they needed. Not high tech, I mean, I went online, there's towns of 35,000 people that have all these kids out screaming, and we love our town, and all this cool stuff for reality TV. Me, you got, Liberty Bibberty downtown.
Swear.
But swearing in the background. But I did submit a few photos, they would only let you do up to 5 photos. I did do the Bookmeyer building as one of the things that maybe needs a little bit of help. I took the video of Gould Street, and then I took the other side of the storage building and how we'd like to be able to do a facade or something to make it match the historical area, and, I sent it all in. Chances are it's gonna go nowhere, but got it through at about 5 o'clock on Friday.
Thanks for trying.
I also discussed, and there's a whole, you could write a whole thing, so I wrote a whole spiel about things we'd like to do and just don't have the budget for. I discussed the splash pad. So,
A for effort.
yeah.
And just a
Gave
quick
it a
note,
shot.
the Maple Tree and opened in Homewood Friday night,
Yeah.
and the Village of Homewood gave them 500,000 in tip incentives for that restaurant. That's what they said on the news. It's a lot of money for a restaurant.
Wow.
That's a staple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original one before they went Cajun was in Beverly. I used to work next door to it on 107th and Western, and then they moved to Blue Island and went into the Cajun Creole food.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Questions? Roll call.
Mazurk?
Yes.
Basil?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Caprows?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.